Invest in pharmaceutical companies that could save your life? It's not a bad idea.
Not a bad reason. The American Heart Association saying heart disease deaths have actually fallen to new record lows, and improved health care is part of the reason why. Is this further proof that free markets create the best medical system there is? Our Fox panel is back now to discuss it. Mike Norman, first to you. We hear a lot of criticism about pharmaceuticals. They get sued all the time, but what would we do without them?
Exactly. What would we do without them? You know, I own Pfizer as an example. It's the biggest pharmaceutical company, very, very innovative, a huge company, and you have to be big. Look, the free market system is, as we've seen in this report about improving statistics on heart disease, etc., it is instrumental in, that trend. But we also have to understand that it takes an enormous amount of research and development. That costs money. You need big companies like Pfizer. You also need, I hate to say it, you're going to hate me for saying it,
yes,
you need some government involvement in this too, because only the government can conduct or fund these ongoing research at universities and at big corporations. It's part of a process, but clearly the free market system is a big part of it.
Peter Schiff, do you like Big Pharma?
Well, look, we don't need any proof that free market capitalism works. I mean, we know it works. I just wish we had it here. I mean, that's the problem. We don't have the free markets that we used to have. We have all kinds of government intervention and all kinds of regulations.
One of the
best things about free markets is that they work to lower consumer prices. Unfortunately, we're being robbed of that benefit by government-created inflation. And the prices are going up, and they're blaming it on the free market. I'm sure to the extent that the government is involved in health care and is involved in pharmaceuticals, they're slowing up the progress that would otherwise be enjoyed by the population if the government stayed out of it.
Should we just dismiss the FDA and say, so long? A lot of people claim that they were saved from bad drugs by the FDA.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to see the FDA go away. Let private rating agencies come in and replace them. Let private labs rate them for us. Let our doctors. How about us making decisions and our doctors making decisions about what drugs are good for us?
The FDA, presumably.
Yeah, but the doctors are making decisions for all of us. One-on-one is the way to make these kind of decisions. My particular circumstances are different than Mike's. Mike might need different drugs than I would. I might be dying of cancer right now, and there's an experimental drug that I should be able to have access to, but the FDA doesn't let me. I'm going to die anyway, but the FDA still prevents me from getting that drug. So I believe that, again, this is a function for the private markets, not the government. Government is doing nothing but violating my right to make a decision about what's good for me.
Are pharmaceuticals a good investment right now in a tough time?
Well, first of all, they're a good investment because people are getting old, and a lot more people are getting old. So you almost can't miss with it. Look, to further the marriage between Peter Schiff and I, people sometimes just don't understand that profit is cheaper than government. Always. Profit is always cheaper than government. However, let's also recognize that there are times where people get greedy. They want to make an extra buck. They skip this, they skip that, and all of a sudden you have some drug that's released out there that kills people.
It takes
that's not
years.
supposed to kill people.
In many cases, it takes years to create a profit.
I know
How do you fund the research?
Gary Kaltbaum, we haven't heard from you yet. Gary, the pharmaceuticals have been hit hard, particularly look at Pfizer, what Pfizer's gone through over the past couple of years with all the lawsuits and everything, and now perhaps more government intrusion in Medicare. Is it time to be buying into pharmaceuticals?
No. Look, the problem with pharmaceuticals is onefold. They're just very mature companies with no real growth ahead of them. They were the stocks for the 1980s, no longer going forward. And as far as capitalism, it is working. Every year there's new drugs coming out that help the consumer. They're coming from pharmaceutical companies because they're R&D. The FDA, there's good and they're bad. Sometimes they're slow, sometimes a little quicker. But just read about all the great drugs that continue to come out on literally a weekly basis that are saving lives, expanding lives. I like what I'm saying.
Mike, I understand your point because I went to Merck once when Ray Gilmartin was running it, and I met one of their lead drug developers, and the guy said, when I was developing this particular drug, starting off with it, my child was in utero, and by the time the drug came out, the kid was graduating from 12th grade. It takes that long. However, there are people on both sides of this who say, even so, all the money that these big pharmas are putting out to develop these drugs, and it's terrific that they're doing it, they're still overcharging. At some point, when somebody puts the thumb on them, is that going to make them less of an attractive investment?
Yeah, if somebody puts a thumb on them, but hopefully that won't happen. We have to also realize that, profits are the lifeblood of capitalism. If they don't have profits, they don't have the ability to fund that research. And I still think I go back to what I said earlier. It has to be hand in hand, a sort of a partnership. And by the way, if you didn't have the FDA, by the way, S&P rated all these CDOs and everything else like that. How did that work out? Okay?
It's a monopoly.
You used to have.
It's assigned by the government.
You got Moody's.
There are only two agencies.
Getting back to our main.
All right, but the main point is: are drugs keeping us alive? Are the pharmaceuticals extending our lifespan?
Absolutely, and what I find horrific is these populist politicians use drug companies as a scapegoat. They want to tax them, they want to regulate them, they want to reduce their profits. When they come out with these high profits, everybody complains that drug prices are too high. These profits are being funneled back into R&D. These profits are a reward for all the past R&D they've done.
Remember the biggest cost these drug companies have is freedom and capitalism, not less.
About the prices of drugs. I get that they shouldn't be regulated, but then when you find out that the same drug companies are selling drugs for less expensive prices in other countries, and they're gouging a lot of elderly people who can't afford it here.
They've got to recoup all these massive costs imposed on them by the government. If it wasn't for all this government regulation, it wouldn't cost nearly as much to develop these drugs.
All right, Peter gets the last word, ladies.